What's going on, everybody? Vulkan here, and today I have a really special video. The wonderful folks over at Rawfury and Sitchheads Entertainment have allowed me early access to Superfuse. So some of you might be wondering, what is this game? This is an upcoming hack and slash action RPG that's set in a sci-fi comic book sort of themed universe where you have to sort of create the ultimate hero to go through and uncover the secrets of the corruption and the gods. So that's all we really know so far in terms of story. But in terms of gameplay, we know quite a bit, and we're gonna go through it in today's video. So just to get started, right now in Superfuse, the whole sort of gameplay loop is create a class, play through the campaign. As you go through, you're going to acquire better and better gear. You're going to build up your character, and you're going to work your way through some different talent trees. And as you're doing this, you're going to unlock new skills, and then using those new skills, you can apply something called fuses to them. And these fuses will change how that skill performs. For instance, you take a single projectile, you make it into 5 projectiles. You make those projectiles bounce off of each other. You make them zigzag whenever you launch them. You make leap smash and cause some shock waves whenever you land. So you can do all sorts of different things to these abilities. And the cool thing is it's completely freeform. The only thing that you have to watch out for is a cap on how many fuses that you put. And this is one of the things that really kind of pulled me into Superfuse originally. So that's sort of the unique selling point for the game. So when you first start Superfuse, at least during the beta or the one I have access to, there's 2 classes that are available. There's the Berserker and there's the Elementalist. Now there's 2 other classes that I can see on the selection screen, but we don't know anything about them. We can't click on them and we can't view them. We just know there's 2 other ones that are there. So the first one I went with was the Berserker, mostly because everybody in my Discord loves to play a Berserker style class. So in honor of them, I built a Leap Smash Berserker, and it's been incredibly fun. This thing just rolls through stuff. It's incredibly tanky, and it just literally vaporizes anything it touches. So it's really, really cool to see. Then I went back and I did build out an Elementalist as well, because at my heart, I'm more of a caster. And that was a really cool class too. Each one sort of has their own unique identity. They have their own strengths and weaknesses. The Elementalist being more of a high-powered glass cannon, whereas the Berserker seems to be a more balanced type of damage dealer and tank. So he can take a beating, but at the same time, he can pump out a moderate amount of damage, especially when it comes to tanky, sort of elite enemies. So that's really where we're at right now. I don't know if the other 2 classes will be available before launch, but if they are, I'll do a deep dive into those ones too. So for today's video, we're gonna go through and we're gonna talk about the Berserker. So let's talk about that unique selling point in the game, and that's going to be the fuses. So first things first, we wanna open our talent tree. So let's go ahead and hop over to our talent tree. So the Berserker has 3 separate trees to choose from: brute force, combat, and lightning. Now, because this is a early access build and it's still in development, you have things that are still in development. They're locked, they're not available, and that's okay. But as you level up, you're going to earn skill points. And then these skill points can be used to invest into the different trees. You spend the points by clicking on the mastery, at which point you get some stat boosts. So this one gives you health, max energy, strength, power, and physical spell damage. And then you can see the next level, you have the projected stat increases. As you spend points into the mastery, this little line here is going to fill up, and it's going to unlock different skills. So the first skill you get is the Power Punch. The Power Punch is this guy right here. It's sort of this like hologram, you know, kind of very comic book inspired punch that basically damages everything in a straight line. And then as you spend more points, you're going to eventually reach this minor node. This is going to unlock these minor nodes, these passives up here. So the first one you get is pace. You spend a point in here. It's going to unlock this linked node at the top, superhuman strength, to increase your overall strength. As you spend points into this, it'll go around and unlock this one, and then this one, and eventually this one. Now you can always spend more points here, unlock your next skill. For this example, we have leap, and leap will then allow you to unlock bulletproof, which will allow you to unlock accelerated healing. So you don't have to necessarily go up and around. You can shortcut it here if you would like. But as you spend points, you're going to work your way all the way around and unlock these different skills, as well as the different passives. So there's a lot that you can do in terms of the talent trees. And I really like the whole DNA thing. I think that's a really cool little touch, considering you're sort of this genetically modified person called an enforcer. But you can spend these points in as many trees as you want. So I have some points in brute force. I have 3 points into combat, mostly for this weapon efficiency node here. I tried slam, wasn't exactly a huge fan of it without a lot of investment. If you invest a lot into this skill, you can get some really, really cool earthquake style abilities. But for me, I was really happy with Leap Smash. And the last one is the lightning tree. So lightning tree is going to be your kind of spell casting, ranged type of damage ability. So you have lightning bolt that you can throw, you can create a lightning shield, you can energize to deal additional lightning damage, and then eventually you get thunder where you launch into the air and then crash down on enemies. So this is sort of a souped up Leap Smash that has some lightning spell damage infused into it. But you can tell this tree doesn't really have a lot going on, so I chose not to invest into it right now. Brute force was more my speed. Okay, so let's talk about what you do with these skills. So here's the talent tree, and that's sort of how it works. You unlock, leap, what happens next? Next, you have this equip skills button at the very top. This is where you can go through and you can just drag and drop your skills onto your skill bar. Now you can also pull them off and it'll put them back down here. So once you have these skills equipped on your skill bar, then you can go in and start applying your fuses. So let's look at leap because this is my main ability right now. So once you click in, you're gonna have this fuse grid that exists here. So you have leap here in the middle. This is your baseline skill. Leap in the air and create a powerful shockwave where you land. Okay, so just as an example, when I first started, this is what leap did. You would jump straight up and straight down and you would deal damage in an AoE. Now you can see I have this sort of like improved radius and a shockwave that goes out every now and then, but that's truly all it was. And there wasn't a way to actually leap from kind of place to place. So we had to change that. And you can do that with fuses. Fuses are split into different categories. You have on start, so whenever a skill begins, you have on hit, on kill, and on end. And then you have passives. Now passives make up the majority of them, obviously, because it's passive, right? You want things that are going to improve the effectiveness of the entire skill from start to finish. But then you have other ones like shrapnel. So when your skill ends, it'll send out some additional shrapnel to increase the range. This one's great, but it does not proc when you hit something. So keep that in mind. So if you're thinking like frost blades from PoE, where you send out a frost blade, it hits an enemy, and then it shatters and hits enemies behind them, that's not how this works. The skill has to reach its end point. So if max range is 10 and you hit an enemy before 10 meters, then this will not proc. If you hit an enemy at 11 meters or 10 meters, then it'll proc. You have on kill, where this is going to drop extra money. And then you have some on hits like knockback, stuns, crush, which we'll go through these in a minute. Stun, crush again. There's some other ones that I cannot use because I don't have the appropriate skill. So you can see under skill power, it says requires wall skill. This one requires a projectile skill. So there is a little bit of a requirement there as well. I have all of these blue ones up here for on start, but again, they require wall skills, weapon skills, you know, things like that. So truly it does, there are a ton of these different fuses, but it does matter what skill you equip them to. So outside of our little window here at the top, we can see we do have a fuse capacity. Each one of these fuses costs something. Dash costs 5 capacity points. And then over here on the left, we have customized leap. It's a level 8 skill. As you put more fuses, it's going to level up. And then we have our summary of our damage, energy cost, attacks per second, crit chance, and crit damage. So let's talk about how the fuses actually work. So one, again, we have our baseline skill right here in the middle, leap. The first thing I did was attach dash to leap. This allows me to leap from one location to another. It's kind of hard to make a leap smash build when you can't jump from one spot to the next. So dash was the first one that I threw on. And you can see dash comes with 3 kind of nodes here. whereas these smaller ones just come with 1. This is another sort of limitation. And this is where you have to get a little strategic because you have other ones like, where's that? Knockback. You have the ones like Knockback where you have 4, right? So you need to place it in a spot where you have enough room for 4, but also where it's not so much in the way. So that's something to keep note of as well. In addition to dash, we have 2 other on hits, and that's crush and crush. So you can stack these up and it will double the chance of these things happening. So we get additional skill power, which is great. And then we have a 35% fuse activate chance each to cause a crushing shockwave, which is going to deal extra damage to all nearby enemies, in addition to our leap smash sort of shockwave. So jump up, hit the ground. Any enemies that are hit have a chance to cause an additional shockwave from that enemy, dealing additional damage. And by 2 of these, I'm increasing that fuse chance to 75%. Now, I haven't done a ton of the math, but it doesn't really matter because this is early access. But either way, this doubles the way this works. So those are our 2 on hits. Now the rest are passives. So we have trauma, which is going to cause a trauma debuff to occur on enemies. And from what I've been able to pull, this reduces their movement speed, and on top of that causes any extra physical damage to get bonus damage. So if they have a trauma debuff and you hit them with leap again, they're going to get a bonus damage added on top of whatever you're damaging or whatever you're dealing out. And then on the far right, you can see how these different stats rolled. So here you can see at the very top, +4 skill power, that's 100%. That's the cap. It rolled great. But underneath that, you have a +12% chance, which is sort of in the middle because the range is 5 to 20%. So those visual gauges are super nice because that allows me to quickly and easily look and see, okay, how did this one roll? Is it good? Is it bad? And then we have impact radius, which you can see didn't roll great, has 1 skill power, but this just increases the radius of the skill. We have energy cost reduction, which reduces the energy cost for our skill. Leap smash, so namesake, our leaps have reduced airtime and increased impact damage. So basically we go faster and we deal more damage, which is always good. And then we have energy restore on miss. So whenever we miss with this ability, this is going to actually refund us some energy. And that's very, very good because you're going to burn energy super, super quick. So being able to actually get some of that back is always great. So let's go ahead and let's add an on kill here. And I'm just going to throw this little credits one out. So we'll do like this here. So you can see we went up to a level 9 skill. We're currently capped on our fuse capacity. And now we're going to get extra credits whenever we kill an enemy. But our energy cost is increased by 10%. So that's something you have to keep in mind as well. So if I take this off, we're at 15.2. I reapply it, we're at 17.3. So again, that's something to keep in mind on. Now you can also rotate these fuses. So if I'm holding this up, I can do Q and E to rotate it to fit sort of where I want it to fit. So if I want it there, or if I want to move it so it's here and taking up these last 2 spaces, and then I can throw another passive in right here, that's the way you can do that as well. So that's our leap smash skill, but you're not just limited to 1 skill. You can do it for each and every skill that you want to, as long as you have enough fuse capacity. So you can see here with my lightning bolt, I have some extra damage. If I remove those, I can come over to our slam ability, for instance, and I can do some extra stuff here. So there's a lot of really cool things you can do with this fuse system, and I love the way it's set up. It's very easy to understand, and it's something that I think a lot of people are really going to enjoy, especially those who love to really kind of deeply customize the way their build works, the way their character works, and if they're looking for a very specific playstyle. So let's talk about gear really quick before we jump into kind of the overall feel of the game. So in terms of gearing, here's my character. And like I said, I'm level 14. I have about 7 hours in the game total across multiple characters. But epics drop very early. I think I got my first epic item at level like 5 or 6. So that's just something to keep in mind. If you're someone who really likes the long drawn out sort of journey of getting weapons or climbing rarities, then that's something you might want to think about, because these drop pretty early. But Here, I'm just dual wielding a winged axe. You can see we have increased reflexes, power, weapon damage, health on restore, didn't roll particularly well. Then we have our hammer, again, reflexes, weapon damage, lifesteal, and health restore on kill. As we go through, we can see our shoulder pads, we have our knee pads, gloves, boots, legs, chest, and headpiece. And then we have 2 trinkets, which are rings, which are these little like jars. So there's a lot of different variations of trinkets. So that's something to keep in mind as well. And then over here, we have our attributes. So strength is going to increase your physical damage and armor. Reflexes is your accuracy and evasion. And your power is all elemental damage and max energy by 2. So power is sort of how you increase your energy as well as elemental. Defense, armor, block chance, and evasion. And you have your resistances of fire, ice, lightning, and poison. And then you have your accuracy on your different attacks. So we can see my main hand damage and my offhand damage using my leap smash ability and the accuracy at which this will hit a target with a non-spell attack. So 15. There's also an extended details window that'll go through and show you defensive, offensive, and adventure. So all of this I think is really slick. Sight range is an interesting one. That's just sort of one I haven't seen before. But all these other ones sort of make sense, and I've seen them across different action RPGs, but it's good to have all of this extra information here. So now we've covered really kind of everything else that we have access to right now. Let's talk about the overall gameplay feel. So Superfuse, from a early access in development standpoint, feels good. You can tell there's a strong core here. There's a strong sense of direction and identity for what the game wants to accomplish. Each class feels like it excels at something. Skills feel powerful. They offer some good feedback. You're able to kind of fulfill that semi kind of superhero fantasy where you're sort of this genetically modified human that is able to channel a lot of different skills and abilities. And you're sort of viewed as that in the game as well. The story so far has a really nice visual kind of storytelling element. It actually pops up in some comic book paneling. So it really feels like you're looking at a visual comic book, which is great. Adds to the whole sort of overall theme, which I really like. And then, like I said, the game is still in development, so there are some issues and there are some bugs you can run into. And so far, getting around has been pretty easy, pretty simple. The game itself is easy to understand. I can see it offering a lot of kind of deep customization options, like we talked about with the fuse and the skills. But overall, it has been really, really fun. It's one of those games that I'm going to be looking forward to. Hopefully a lot of you can jump in on the upcoming beta, but if you're an action RPG fan, this is definitely one you want to check out because I think you're really going to like what you see. So guys, that wraps up this video, but I do have a couple more where we take a deep dive into the Berserker as well as the Elementalist. So if you're interested in Superfuse, please let me know in the comment section below. Give this video a like and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys next time.